About an hour and 35 minutes, massive Christian burial for fallen Omaha police officer Kerrie Orozco. From this point on, the casket will be taken down the steps of St. John's Church. Bagpipes will play, and really the first half of today's service is now concluded as we get ready for the second half, which is the burial, the procession, then the burial, where she'll go to her final resting place at St. Joseph Cemetery in Council Bluffs.
We've shown pictures now of people filing out of the church and officers filing out of the CenturyLink Center. Everyone is gathering outside. They will then get in their vehicles and escort her body to the cemetery in Council Bluffs. We know that her gang unit vehicle will be part of that procession.
That procession will go from Douglas Street in Omaha. It will then head over the West Broadway Bridge. From there, the procession will continue to St. Joseph Cemetery off East Kingsville Boulevard. This is a live look outside St. John's as many Jesuit priests and other clergy from throughout the Omaha area are exiting the church, including Father William Bond and Archbishop George Lucas right there, with police flanked on either side. And as you can see, this massive Christian burial is winding down. There's liturgical director Keith Kozad coming down the steps as well. And the procession is just moments away, the beginning of the procession from the church to the cemetery. They
dismissed the officers first from the service so that, as you can see, they can line the steps of the church at St. John's on the Creighton campus. These are family and friends who were part of the service today. Here's a live look outside. You see various officers standing there lining the area as they wait for everyone to leave the church.
Fountain, of course, there in front of St. John's Church turned on today. We can also tell you that as part of this procession, the mourners here at St. John's will join with the overflow crowd at the CenturyLink Center, and the two will join into one as they process from 10th and Douglas over into Council Bluffs. And as they get to the cemetery in Council Bluffs, there will be a ceremony in and of itself there. As we saw earlier, Police Chief Todd Schmatter, who spoke for a few minutes, he recognized the Boys and Girls Club baseball team that Officer Kerrie Orozco coached. And here they are, still inside St. John's Church.
When he mentioned them, there were cheers inside the church. This was the team, the baseball team, that Officer Kerrie Orozco was the coach of. Some moments from inside the service, if you are just joining KMTV at this time. Omaha Police Chief Todd Schmatter spoke. He said he is glad that he's glad that everyone is seeing Kerrie. He said we are truly blessed for the opportunity to catch a glimpse of Kerrie's life. He talked about her legacy, saying that it is breaking down barriers. He basically called on people to say, when you see an officer, instead of thinking there's a divide between the general public and the officer, you should think of Kerrie. Congressman Brad Ashford in attendance. We know a lot of dignitaries are there. The police chief, as I mentioned, Omaha Mayor Gene Stothert, Ben Sasse, I believe, is there. The governors of both Iowa and Nebraska are there as well.
Father William Bond did the homily and said the Mass. Live look outside, as you can see here. We understand the bagpipes are starting to play. Let's just listen in and see if we can hear some of this. See, as you can see, this is the end of the massive Christian burial and the final salute at St. John's Church to Officer Kerrie Orozco, and it's the beginning of the procession to St. Joseph's, the cemetery in Council Bluffs, which will be her final resting place.
And this will be a large procession, as you might imagine. We just saw from Sergeant Menning, the Omaha Police Department, he said that 453 cars will be involved in this procession as they escort her body to her final resting place. You saw the pallbearers take out her casket, a flag-draped casket. Some of the pallbearers are members of the gang unit, people she served with very closely.
We will stay with the procession all the way to the ceremony at St. Joseph's Cemetery, and we will walk you through the procession, and we will follow the procession as it goes from Omaha over the 480 bridge into Council Bluffs, then off Canesville to the cemetery where the ceremony will begin there. I want to call attention to a couple of things that Father William Bond said in his homily when he talked of fallen officer Kerrie Orozco. He said she had a desire to make peace and referred back to the Gospel of Matthew, which was read today. Blessed are the peacemakers. And he said that's how we will remember, and he will remember Kerrie Orozco. This is now a live picture of 10th and Douglas in Omaha. You see the procession line there, the exiting from Omaha over the bridge into Council Bluffs.
You see the flag hanging down the corner of your screen, upper corner. Two firefighter ladders, you can see those flanking two firefighter ladders have that hanging suspended over the area because this is the route. On the left, obviously, you see all of the officers, Omaha police officers. We also know there are officers from all over the country in town. It was raining earlier today, yet the public also came out. They are supporting her by lining the streets. You can see people holding flags, people wearing blue, people there to make sure her procession to the cemetery comes with great honor. The
casket will travel down Douglas and then go over the 480 bridge onto West Broadway. From there, West Broadway to veer left at East Canesville Boulevard, and the ceremony will take place at St. Joseph's Cemetery. As you can see back here at St. John's Catholic Church on the campus of Creighton, mourners are still exiting the church. I can see Council President Pete Festerson right there stepping down the steps at St. John's. These are the final. There's Congressman Brad Ashford as well. These are among hundreds of mourners who filled the church late this morning and into the early afternoon for the massive Christian burial for fallen officer Kerrie Orozco, killed in the line of duty last Wednesday near 30th and Martin. You're watching coverage on KMTV Action 3 News. We will stay with this right through the procession and the ceremony at the cemetery. You're watching it on live TV as we are, as the first part of today's ceremony has wrapped up, and now the second part, the procession, and if you will, the third part, the ceremony at the cemetery and the actual burial is the stages that we're following.
In addition to her law enforcement family that you are seeing, Kerrie Orozco leaves behind her husband Hector, as well as 3 children, one baby Olivia. Baby Olivia was due to be born. Her original due date was today, the day her mother will be buried. She came early in mid-February. You can see right here, this is a live look of the procession route in Council Bluffs. This is 18th and Broadway. You can see again people with balloons and flags lining the area in Council Bluffs, getting ready for the procession route to come that way. Again, as she goes to her final resting place, which is St. Joseph's Cemetery. Live look again from St. John's on the Creighton campus. The officers are still standing, lining the area as people are still leaving as they get ready, waiting for her body to be transported.
More than 400 cars will be part of this procession, which will likely span all the way from Council Bluffs, doubling back toward the church area on Douglas Street. And so that this whole corridor from St. John's, which is really near 24th and coming down to 10th and Douglas, and then over the bridge into Council Bluffs, It is police officers, mourners with flags on the side of the street, officers from all over the country paying their respects to 29-year-old Kerrie Orozco. And as we've mentioned, Jen, hundreds of cars will be part of this procession as they take Officer Orozco to her final resting place.
Father Bond talked about her love for family, her love for her immediate family, but also her love for the job. He talked about how important these people she worked side by side with were to her. Also, she liked the big arrests. She felt that they made a difference, and she liked to make a difference in the community. Even when she was with her baby, she was anxious to get back on the job because that's how important it was to her. And we're learning from people who knew her best that she cared about her job, but she took her job into her personal life, and that's what we're seeing with her being a coach for the Boys and Girls Club.